Friday afternoon in the studio. All of our friends and co-workers and colleagues here have costumes on, including Skinny Tom Selleck, Miami Vice, who was not in Miami Vice, but Miami Vice version of Skinny Tom Selleck.
Someone caught it on my Instagram, like, you've clearly never seen Miami Vice. I'm like, of course, not everyone's going to dress up as the exact guys in Miami Vice. I'm taking their look. That's why I've got my tight white pants.
One look. One look. Zoolander. One look. One look.
I'll show you one look.
So we're going to talk about the NBA because every team has played, capping off with the Clippers and the Portland Trail Blazers, the Blazers' second game of the season. They did fall to the Clippers 120-114 in Clippers fashion. The Clippers were up by like 16 with 2 minutes and 54 seconds left, maybe 17, and still found a way to make it 2 minutes and 54 seconds left with 22 seconds left. They were only up by 5. Very, very Clippers-esque way to start the season. They got the win. There was a lot going on in that one. We're going to talk more about that game in a clip for Saturday morning. But we're going to also talk about the NBA's opening week. I put together a little list of some of the biggest storylines so far from opening week. Career high 35 points in Golden State. He actually did 30 points. For the first time, he went back-to-back 30-point games. And DeMarcus Cousins on the Kings said afterwards, I heard he was training with Kobe. I saw some flashes of Kobe. That's a pretty big compliment. Anthony Davis, 50 points and 16 rebounds, became just the fourth to open up a season with 50 points in the first game, joining Jordan, who did it twice in the 80s, Wilt Chamberlain, and Elgin Baylor. DeMar DeRozan, 40 points on 27 shots. Raptors fans, put some respect on his name. I hear you there. James Harden, 34 points and 17 assists as point guard. Russell Westbrook opening up his triple-double, his quest for the triple-double season, 32, 12, and 9. Joel Embiid, 20 points in 22 minutes in his NBA debut. And Dwyane Wade last night. Ice's game has a three-point shot. Now, Francis, he went 3 for 4. He made 7 three-pointers all of last regular season. Give me 120 attempts, I can make more than 7 in an NBA game, in a season.
Dwyane Wade,
I probably couldn't.
Not just because of that, and because of the fact that he scored it on a last-minute shot as well, to prove that this guy just never loses that clutch gene that we talk about.
The clutch gene.
I just like to see the Chicago Bulls get off to a decent start. Like I talked about this team throughout our preview clips. It still isn't my biggest takeaway from the opening week, but it was still a good kind of tidbit to round it off on. I think that the Chicago Bulls are going to be interesting to watch. I'm still interested to watch a lot of the teams in the East Coast. I'm even interested to watch the Knicks this season. But the biggest takeaway for me isn't just like biggest single performance.
Who had the best NBA performance?
The best player was Damian Lillard. Just on single performance and the ability that he was able to do.
I didn't put Lillard on for his 39 points. My bad, no disrespect. And Miles Turner I didn't put on either for having a great first game.
Simmons as well had a great game. Like he's
Dwight Howard, Jonathan Simmons.
Yeah, Jonathan Simmons.
I was looking at the major ones, but leaving out Damian Lillard was a big mistake on my part.
Oh, not because it's because there's so many players. Like when you have Anthony Davis scoring that amount of points, you're expected that to put it in there. But it's I can't take this seriously. Come on. But it's the fact is that Damian Lillard was able to do it in a game against the Utah Jazz, the team that everyone's going to be looking at, the team that's so strong, so deep,
so long,
Pacific-esque deep. But Damian Lillard proves that the Portland Trailblazers don't need to be that deep as long as they have him.
No, there's a couple storylines for the Trailblazers so far in the first 2 games. For one, CJ McCollum is not a one-hit wonder, and that is awesome. That makes a very fun backcourt. And again, I want to save some of the Blazers for the Clippers clip because they got a little scrappy with the Clippers and Blazers last night, which was kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Or at least when that clip goes up. Thursday night's game. So Lillard, absolutely correct on that one. The biggest one, I still think, is Anthony Davis because they didn't win.
Yeah.
And that's why I find that he accounted for, if you include the assists, he almost had a 5-by-5 game, which is very rare in the NBA. He was more than half of their points in the game, and Tim Frazier is the guard filling in for Drew Holiday, which is a very, very sad story. Real quick, Drew Holiday's wife had a benign tumor on her brain, had to get it cut out, and she's doing well now, we think. She's recovering. He also has like a brand newborn daughter.
Yeah.
So a lot going on. So, shout out to Drew Holiday. Hope everything's going well with his family. But he should be coming back to the Pelicans too, which will be, they can all stay healthy. You have yourself one of the best players in the NBA alongside a competent guard. Young scorer and Buddy Hield hopefully develops enough. Joel Embiid is worth talking about.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is nicknaming himself The Process, which is the funniest thing I've ever heard. He said, quote, he learned how to shoot from watching ordinary white people. They asked him, like Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash, and he goes, no. They went down to the park and watched ordinary white people.
That's us. We're ordinary white people. He could be taking influence from my over-the-head, shy-esque shot.
You know, because of people like Sean Marion, you could do it.
Oh, no, I know. Sean Marion's shot is so unbelievable, but in NBA 2K, it's so hard to control because there's nowhere to understand where it's come from.
Right.
But the biggest storyline for me still is, again, not to play into everyone else of the week, is the Spurs. But again, it's the Spurs. It's not the Warriors crashed. Not the Warriors crashed and burned. Kevin Durant's going to cause them to implode, blah, blah, blah. It's the Spurs look phenomenal. Kawhi Leonard's on his way. I don't want him to play like the broken record, but he's on his way to being
the
MVP
this
best.
year?
What's that?
2 games MVP? Is he the MVP?
He's going to be a great shout. There's no doubt if he keeps up this performance. And I mean, we know how things pan out.
He wasn't even stealing the ball when it was being dribbled. He was literally taking it out of people's hands.
It was his.
There's a couple other big highlights. Again, we can't show the highlights, unfortunately, but Hassan Whiteside had a highlight where instead of going up to just block it, he went up and just palmed it out of the air and then brought it down.
Yeah.
Which is just like, how big is your
He's got so much promise.
hand?
Like, so much promise. That's why
Giant hand.
I just feel like he needs to be taken under a wing and just matured.
He needs to talk to Hakeem the Dream.
Yeah.
And just get that footwork down perfectly. It'd be awesome.
I think he just needs to be fed like I don't know, like I just feel like I want to get you under my arms to show it.
Who needs to be fed is Brandon Ingram.
Oh, no, he does.
Inject food
I don't mean
into
food
his
like this
arms,
getting big.
literally.
Yeah,
they make
he's
Jamal Crawford
thin.
look huge.
He makes Kevin Durant look like Hulk Hogan.
That's true. Kevin Durant, Hulk Hogan, all those guys with the very long arms. Very skinny long arms. All right, so back to that list real quick just to make sure we didn't miss anybody. Again, the Raptors should be absolutely challenging for the number 1 seed, 2 seed. They were close last year to challenging for the 1 seed. It just depends on LeBron and the Cavs and the 2-week hiatus, whatever goes on in LeBron's mind around February. Regardless, back to that list real quick. I just want to make sure we're not missing out anybody. We talked about Embiid, Dwyane Wade getting the threes. Russ Westbrook, they almost lost that game. Victor Oladipo, not bright in his first game. Victor Oladipo needed to take some better looking shots. He was at one point, I know, 1 for 12. I'm not sure how he finished the rest of that game, but him and Steven Adams, it's going to take some time. There's some new pieces in that. There's no Ibaka. I'm going to give them the same pass I give everybody else. Let's see in a month where the offense looks, what the defense looks like, what Billy Donovan has done with this team in the first quarter of the season.
And that's what I think the overall kind of takeaways from NBA's opening week is that I never look at just the scores. I'm not just going to rag on a team because they lose, like we talked about as well. Like, rather than sit and talk about how the Golden State Warriors lost by 20, whatever, you can talk about what their team's movement looked like, what was free and flowing and looked good and looked like they were starting to come together, what was a little bit more kind of not as easy, not as flexible between them. I think that Klay Thompson's game, if I was to pick apart anyone's, at times didn't look as flexible as what it had done last year, but that's just an early inclination. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen all the way through the season. I think we are free to criticize as we want, but I'm just not going to jump ahead of the situation and be like, this team are going to crash and burn this season.
Yeah.
You pick up the small parts. Like Anthony Davis's game after he had a stuttering season last year with injuries.
Oh, yeah.
It's great to see him move. He looked as if he was moving at the best shape he's been, and he looked like he was confident. That's something I'll take away. Am I going to go out there and be like, Anthony Davis is going to be the MVP?
Yes.
He fairly could be,
yes.
But he looked good.
Point beard James Harden was dishing some dimes. I think that's it. I'm not delusional. 81-1, Knicks NBA Finals champions, 2016-2017.
If that's the case,
comment below.
The Los Angeles Lakers 77 and
5.
Not
bad. It's a good matchup. You know, not as good as 81-1, but we'll take it. Comment below, like, favorite, subscribe to the channel. Goes a long way. We're on the Twitter, Instagram. We're not on the Vine, but check out our Vine video. #RIP Vine. We'll see you next time.